Well, it's raining again. That puts me on the porch building cages. I've had several people ask how I make my cages, so I'm going to show you. There's a couple things to keep in mind when you're building cages. Wear shoes. I know that's common sense, but when you're clipping wire, these little spurs will go everywhere. Now, I keep a magnet handy and I try to catch them all, but I don't. And the spurs will go everywhere, and if you step on them, they do hurt. You should wear work gloves, especially you ladies that don't want calluses on your hands. It's hard work. And for safety reasons, you should wear safety glasses. One of those spurs could fly back, poke you in the eye. What kind of wire do I use? My sidewalls, my tops, and my doors are 14 gauge. That's heavy duty wire. Typically, on those I use galvanized before weld. Actually, the supplier was out, so I actually have galvanized after weld. It's a higher, more expensive wire, but it's very good. For your heavy breeds, I definitely recommend that you go with 14 gauge. On my floors, they are always 14 gauge galvanized after weld. And then because these are brood does, you can go with your standard wire. It's a little cheaper and that works. And I use it for my bucks. I use it for my grow out pens. I use it for my quarantine pens. I use it for everything but my brood does. My brood does gets what is called baby saver wire. Let me show you. The bottom 4 inches of the wire is 1/2 inch by 1 inch. This is so that if the doe has her kits on the wire, they climb around and they will fall out of these bigger holes. Or if they're young and they're still in the nest box and they fall out of the nest box, again, they'll crawl around and they'll fall out of these holes. So for my brood does, I get the baby saver wire. It is more expensive, and I rarely have a kit fall out of cage, but it does happen occasionally. And then on my floors, they are 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire. My tops are 1 inch by 2 inch. My doors are 1 inch by 2 inch. Yeah. So if you have larger rabbits, definitely spend the extra money on the 14 gauge wire. It will last you longer. If you take care of your cages, keep them clean, keep them sheltered, and take care of them properly, they will last you years upon years. The cage I'm building today is a 2-unit, a 2-hole cage that will be 24 wide, 30 deep, 18 tall. So, first thing I'm going to need is 4 wire. Since it's 2 cages, I need to cut my 4 wire. I have a 30-inch roll, so I need to start out with a 48-inch cut. And I'm just going to take good wire cutters. The better they are, the easier they are on your hands. So I take my tape measure and good set of wire cutters and unroll your wire. careful. These have sharp edges and they will cut you. Alright, so I measured out my 48 inches. I'm going to go ahead and get this cut. Alright, so here's my floor wire. We got it cut. I'm going to set it outside and I'm going to cut my top wire. Now, I'm making these with angled fronts. So, I have 36-inch wire here. And you may be wondering why I have 36-inch wire when the cages are 30 inches deep. Because I'm making the angled fronts, it requires some extra room. When you fold that and the angle, it takes a little more wire than the depth of the cage. So I had to buy the 36-inch wire, and it's going to have to be cut down to 32 inch. But the first thing I need to do is get my 48-inch length. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this out. It's going to be 48 inches, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut this down to where it's 32 inches. That way I have a 32-inch wire, and on the edge of this, I'm going to go ahead and cut door holes. Now I use 12 by 14 doors, so I'm going to go ahead and get this piece cut, and I'll show it to you, show you the finished product. Okay, so here is my top, and I have no idea if you can see this on the camera. This came from the 36-inch roll, and you can see I've cut it down to the 32 inches. To cover both cages, I'll need the 48 inches, and I'll need 2 door holes. I've already cut the door holes in here. There's one, and here's one for the second. I know that looks weird for a top, but this is the top piece of the cage. I'll show you how it goes together later. Now, I'm going to need my side walls, and since this is one unit with 2 cages, I'm going to need one on each end and a divider in the middle. So I'll need 3 pieces, and I use, let me set that out of the way. This is where the baby saver will come in. I'll cut those 3 dividers out of this 18-inch tall baby saver wire. We'll want to cut 3 pieces that's 30 inches, and then I have to notch them so that when we make that angle, they'll match up. So I'm going to go ahead and get these 3 pieces cut, and I'll show you the results. Okay, here are my 3 sides and dividers. 2 sides and 1 divider. This is cut with a baby saver wire, and I have already notched them. This way when you take the top, it'll make that angle front. So now that we have those 3 sides, and you can see the notches. Again, this will make more sense to you when you see it go together. What I need now is the back. The back is going to be 48 inches in length, 18 inches tall. And my baby saver wire is already 18 inches tall, so all I need to do is cut a 48-inch back. So let's get that piece cut. So here is our back. has the baby saver, and it's 18 inches tall, 48 inches wide, and this is ready to go for the backs. Now we need a front. Now the fronts are a little different. It's basically going to be the same. It's going to be the 48 inches. It's going to be made out of the baby saver, but this is the back, and you'll have flat surface, and then you'll have your angled fronts. To do that, you have to cut down your fronts. Your fronts are lower than your backs, and I cut them at 10 inches. So let's get a front cut, and I'll show you those. Alright, so this is the front. It's the 48 inches wide, 10 inches tall. I had to cut that wire down to size. So now we have our floor, we have our top, we have our three sides and divider, we have our back cut, we have our front cut. We have everything we need to make our cage, but we need two doors. The doors, the door holes are 12 inches by 14 inches. And you want an overhang. I overhang mine by 1 inch. So I need them 13, technically by 16, but I don't waste the wire. The wire is already 18 inches tall. I use the 18-inch door. The door will be 13 by 18. And your doors do not have to have the baby saver wire, so you can use the less expensive wire. Your 1 inch by 2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and cut me out 2 doors and get back with you. Alright, so there's our 2 doors. 13 inches tall, 18 inch wide. We'll have a 2 inch overhang from the hole. We'll have 2 inches on each side, or it'll lay down. And then we'll have a 1 inch over gap at the bottom of the door, and that's where your latch will go in. Which, speaking of, these cages won't get latches today because I'm out of latches. I have to buy some more. So now that we have all of our pieces, hopefully you can see this. After you cut your wire, when you're using hand cutters, you always have little spurs, and these boogers are sharp. So, before I assemble these, I'm going to do one more thing to them. Alright, so I brought you in close to my workstation here, and this is just a makeshift workstation to get me by. And I'm going to use electric shears to cut off these spurs. It works best if you put the horizontal wire on the bottom and follow that wire. And this is definitely a good time to use safety glasses because these spurs fly everywhere. Then that gives you a much smoother cut on those edges there. And then for the door holes, we shear off the spurs and we come back with a grinder and we make that just as baby smooth as you could possibly get it. So we're going to get to work on that. Get all these spurs trimmed off and get those door holes ground down. And then we'll start piecing this thing together. So, we've got all the detail work done on that. Took a coffee break. Now it's time to assemble these. That is the dreaded part. I hate assembling these things. You'll need 2 different kinds of clips. You'll need your standard J clips. And you'll need some C clips. For your J clips, you'll need a pair of J clip pliers. And there are 2 available. This is the cheap set. I think they're, I don't know, about $10 a piece. And I've used these for years and years and years. They get the job done. But they are a nuisance sometimes. Then you have this variety. They're a little more expensive. I think these were 20, maybe 25. I can't remember for sure. They're a little more expensive. But if you're going to build a bunch of cages, and if you can spare the extra money, go with these. These are much better. And then for your C-clips, you'll need a pair of C-clip pliers. And these are fairly easy to use as long as you line up your C-clips just right. And while assembling, not only will you need your C-clip pliers and your J-clip pliers, you will need some pliers. Needle nose work well. These are, I'm not sure what you call these. The set that was laying around, these are the ones I use. They're pretty handy. And you'll need your cutters for missed J clips or missed C clips, and you need to take them off and replace them. You'll need these. So let's get started on the fun job of putting this together. I'm going to start with my back, and I don't know if there's a specific order that's better than the others. I know this is the way I do it, and it works for me. But I'm going to start with my back, and I like to put the horizontal wires on the outside. I don't reckon it matters, but that's the way I like to do it. And then I'm going to start with one of my outside pieces. And I don't care what you do, how flat you get your wire, which I haven't figured out how to get it perfectly flat yet, that your wire never lines up perfectly. And that's why it's such a pain. Anyway, we're going to connect these with your J-clips using your J-clip pliers. That's done. That's the easy part. It's the top and the bottom that's a pain. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put in my middle divider. Since this is a 2-hole cage, I should have put this somewhere else so it wasn't falling on me. I want to make sure I get my divider at my 24 inches. Remember what I said about the wire lining up exactly? Never happens. Alright, so my divider's in. Let's put on the other outer wall. Okay, so we got our two walls and our divider attached to the back. Now we need to put on our front. Get our handy dandy tape measure again.